have crash teams that are on scene that are looking at the crash. Obviously, for safety concerns, the intersection is closed down. We have trains that have been contacted to make sure that there's no other accidents that happen at this area. And so we contacted Norfolk Southern, and they're helping with that. They have their own crews that are on scene, so that if there's anything else that needs to be handled, we can do that safely and quickly. The cars do have a placard on them, so if you notice that there's a flammable material, so that's of concern to us. However, at this point, for safety-wise, we're not concerned because there is no damage to the containers. There's no leakage of any type of materials. And so we, as first and foremost, it's safety that's important to us. So, at this point, they'll give our investigators a chance to get in there and get the details of the crash to find out what really happened. So, with this crash, we're going to look at witness accounts. That's going to be very important to this investigation as far as that goes. And so at this point, it's really early to really speculate as far as, why that driver went across the tracks. And so we're going to really rely on our witness statements to try to come up with some factual information on that.
One person in the van?
At this point, I do know that there's a male driver that has died from the crash. That's all the information I have on that person at this point. To my knowledge, there are no other occupants in that vehicle.
So nobody else taken to the hospital?
Nobody was taken to the hospital.
What do you guys have to do now?
Right now, it's going to be really important for our crash teams that are on scene to kind of go back and recreate what happened. That's the big job of a crash investigator, is to, one, not to jump to any conclusions about how this crash happened, because I think once you get to the point where you predetermine that the crash happened because of this reason or that reason, just speculate or guess, you really don't do a good job with an investigation starting out that way. So it's really important for these guys to go in with an open mind and to, one, go back to their training as trained investigators. They have special training in crash team, especially when you have a car train. So they're going to actually take that vehicle and place it onto a diagram. They're going to look at the placement of the vehicles, where the crash happens. So you have to look at all these factors as far as speeds, maybe the speed of the train, speed of the vehicle, witness accounts. I think on situations like this, anytime you have a crash, whether it's a car, train, or any type of a crash with a motor vehicle, witness accounts really play a big part into an investigation. And then you'll look at the scene that we have, and you have to ask different questions as to whether do their accounts support the physical evidence that's here. And so you look at the crossing gates itself, you look at markings as far as gouge marks in the pavement where the vehicles struck each other. So if somebody says the vehicle is heading southbound, you want to make sure that that's consistent with physical markings on the roadway. And if the train was heading westbound, where did that take that damage from the actual point of impact? So we're going to look at all those factors and try to piece that together, and that takes some time. And so with these kind of investigations, we don't want to rush that. We want to give these guys a chance to do their part, to answer questions, especially for the family at this point. Because at some point, when they get to that time, they're going to want to have these questions answered. So we want to do our part as law enforcement and as investigators to make sure that we can come up with those questions and answers for them.
Ballpark on the crossing being closed?
At this point, I don't have a time. At this point, it's probably going to take a couple hours at least. At this point, we have to, investigators out here to get their measurements, get their document with photographs and video. And so that will take some time. Plus, it's going to take some time for any tow vehicles to come in and remove the vehicle. And I'm sure with Norfolk, they're going to have to look and make sure that the train that was struck is going to be safe to move on from this point forward. And so it's going to take a little bit of time. So I guess for everybody out there, just be patient as far as a motorist. Hope that they would use an alternative route and avoid this area.
Family been notified? There was a lady out here right now if that was the wife or not?
At this point, we're going to make family notification once we determine, one, we got to look at who the owner of the vehicle is. But we have called our department chaplains to assist us with any notifications. And so I don't have that information at this time. We have investigators that will look at those materials, and obviously that's why Norfolk is here also to help deal with that in case that would become a hazmat situation. So they do have teams that are available to us if need be, obviously the fire department, and they have hazmat teams that are specialized in responding to hazardous materials, whether it's on a train and you have semi-trucks. So we we think about these things in these types of investigations. Again, safety is first and foremost, to make sure that we don't have another bad situation that happens because of leakage of any hazmat materials.